Can we all just chill about protein for 1 second? Every time I open up social media, all of the content I see is about recipes, how to get more protein in, 30 grams of protein per meal, more protein to balance your blood sugar, more protein to lose weight, more protein to build muscle, blah, 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 blah. I have been a functional nutritionist for over 6 years, and I have single-handedly seen this protein craze grow out of control. Everything is about getting more protein. And with that, we've seen protein drinks, protein shakes, protein supplements, protein bars. How about we put protein in Doritos and Pop-Tarts and protein water? Yeah. Guys, that's a real thing. That is just how ridiculous this protein movement has gotten. In this video, I am going to share some very honest and nuanced thoughts on this protein movement, and I am going to give you permission to feel something that you probably haven't felt in a while when it comes to food. And that, my friends, is freedom. So buckle up because I have some thoughts, a lot of thoughts. So I think it's really helpful to understand how we even got here in the first place, right? Why protein became the center of all wellness conversations. I don't think this is news to anyone that we have a weight problem in this country.
The U.S. obesity epidemic is only getting worse. Nearly 40% of adults and almost 20% of teenagers are obese.
Recently, over the past few years, Ozempic and Mounjaro have become the center of conversation around weight loss. And honestly, I have no problem with Ozempic or Mounjaro. I think these drugs can be life-saving for some people who are morbidly obese. My problem is when people abuse them, like celebrities in Hollywood, just to lose weight. There's this thing going around called Ozempic face, where you can see celebrities who have done Ozempic and they've kind of lost the fat in their face and are really sunken in. The reason protein has become so popular is because protein naturally increases the production of GLP-1, and GLP-1 is the peptide in Ozempic and Mounjaro. So naturally, when Americans started to take more of these drugs, they started to eat less. And Big Food kind of like freaked out a little bit and was like, okay, what is the newest darling in the wellness scene? And along with the rise of Ozempic and Mounjaro, there was also this rise in the conversation around protein, because protein, if you eat enough protein, it's naturally going to increase the production of GLP-1, which is what everybody is seeking in these super expensive weight loss drugs. So if we could just eat more protein, then maybe we wouldn't have to rely on these drugs. I mean, it makes sense. The real purpose of Ozempic and Mounjaro were for people who had type 2 diabetes, that were insulin resistant, because it helped to balance blood sugar, it helped to promote satiety, it helped to curb food noise. Because people started to use these drugs more, eat less food, and the protein conversation started to reach a new level of popularity, Big Food decided to hop on board. And this is where we get into trouble, because they took the word protein and they stamped it on literally everything they could find, including water. The idea kind of became that protein is associated with health. And if you're eating more protein, you are doing something right. It became a virtue signal. What ended up happening was that Big Food created this multi-billion-dollar industry on shoving protein into everything, and what I'm calling ultra-processed protein products. Say that 5 times fast. Ultra-processed protein product, ultra-processed protein product, ultra-processed protein product, ultra-processed protein product, ultra-processed protein product. The idea kind of was that if we could build up this industry and kind of make protein our angel baby, we can kind of begin to convince people, oh, we need to be focusing on protein. We're not getting enough. We need to consume as many protein products as we can. So there comes the explosion in bars, in protein powders, in protein drinks. They began to shove low quality protein into low quality ultra processed snacks. And I'm going to pick on the protein bar industry here just because it is particularly a disgrace. When you look at the ingredients in these protein bars, it's basically like an ultra processed candy bar that they added crappy quality protein into so that they could slap protein on the label and market and sell it as such. And I mean, it's working, right? Some of these protein bars have reached record-breaking sales, and it's because of good marketing. Because we have collectively as a society accepted this idea that we are not getting enough protein and that we need more in order to be healthy. But these protein bars have artificial sweeteners, gums, emulsifiers, preservatives, and they trick us into thinking that this is the way because we have protein on the label, we have 20 grams, and we have a delicious chocolate, peanut butter, birthday cake, Oreo sundae, whatever you want to call it, way of consuming more protein when it's just not the way to get protein in if you are looking to consume more protein that your body will actually love and absorb and use and turn into beautiful muscle mass and tissue. So here is the question that I don't think anybody is asking, okay? And that is, do we even have a protein problem to begin with? Is protein actually an issue? Are we not getting enough? The honest answer to this question is not really. Americans on average are not protein deficient. If anything, the more common issue is that we consume so much ultra processed foods that are laden with carbohydrates and inflammatory fats that these naturally crowd out the consumption of high quality, nutrient dense protein sources from Mother Nature, from the planet, from animals and plants. But the baseline protein intake in the modern diet, I mean, it's generally fine. We haven't had a problem with protein until very recently. In fact, there is a landmark study that was done that was published in the Journal of Cell Metabolism in 2014 that found that people between the age of 50 and 65 who ate more protein actually had a higher risk of mortality. And this association was especially strong with animal protein and not plant protein. Now, before the carnivore police come after me, I just want to say that this is one study, it is an observational study, and it cannot prove cause and effect. Also, in observational studies, they tend to lump animal protein as all sorts of animal protein. So even ultra processed, like we're talking hot dogs, processed meats like salami and pepperoni and sausages and things like this. So we're not saying that animal protein is bad. We're saying that high consumption of low quality protein sources, particularly ultra processed protein sources, could be linked to an increased risk of death. Now, there's also research that shows that people who consume more protein tend to live longer. And this also makes sense. If you're consuming a high quality source of protein like grass-fed beef or lamb or pasture-raised chicken or turkey or eggs or wild-caught seafood, these are all amazing high quality sources of protein. Protein is also the most nutrient dense macronutrient. So if you are consuming high levels of high quality protein, you're naturally going to fill in your micronutrient gaps. So we're talking about B vitamins, minerals like zinc, manganese, copper, selenium, molybdenum, all of these essential micronutrients that we need for a happy, healthy, high-functioning immune system and to combat aging. So, I mean, that makes sense too, right? And also, the story completely flips when we talk about people who are 65 and older because they are less efficient at absorbing protein. So, those who consume more protein have a lower risk of death because they are more easily able to maintain their lean muscle mass. As a result, that helps to cushion and protect their bones from falls and fracture. So if you're feeling confused, I mean, that's kind of where we're at with the research right now. It's nuanced, it matters depending on the individual, their age, their activity level, their goals. Sure, if you want to put on muscle, if you want to lose weight, if you want to better balance your blood sugar or your hormones, and who doesn't, then you should probably prioritize protein in your diet. But where we run into issues is when big food got on board and started making all these ultra processed protein products to take advantage of a vulnerable population. If you are someone who is obsessing about calculating your grams of protein every day, who is trying to pack protein into every single meal, every single snack, every single drink, maybe even your water, spending an arm and a leg on powders and supplements and drinks, I just want to tell you that you have my permission to stop. To stop obsessing over one single macronutrient, because when we look back at history, every time we have obsessed over one macronutrient, I'm looking at you, low carb movement, low fat movement, there has always been consequences. And the consequences usually go back to how big food takes advantage of these movements and produces ultra processed products that sort of reflect where the culture or society is headed and how they're thinking about nutrition and diet. So protein is no different. Now, before I keep going, if this is landing for you, I just please ask that you hit subscribe. I am a certified nutritionist and I am dedicated to making videos to help cut through the noise of the wellness world. It is crazy out there, and I feel like we do really need a voice of reason, a friend who gets it, who has been through it, who's trying to navigate it herself. I'm here for you. I put out videos every week. I put out a lot of healthy recipe videos. So if you are enjoying this video, please hit subscribe. Let's get back to it. Let's just go back in time for 1 second. I want you to imagine your grandparents or their parents. Do you think that any of them were worried about protein? Absolutely not. They had way bigger fish to fry, right? They were more worried about where their food was coming from, connecting with their neighbors, their friends, their communities, living a joyful life, dancing, playing, time outside in nature, the things that we as humans should care about, should prioritize, that we've sort of gotten away from in this era of social media and wellness culture that makes you feel like you are missing something. Great example of this is the Italians, right? Do you think that they are worried about how much protein they're getting in a day? No, they're eating plates of pasta, fresh cheese, fresh bread, drinking wine. They're not worried about protein, and they are amongst some of the healthiest people in the world. They live a balanced life. They live a low stress life. The Japanese, these are one of the longest lived populations on planet Earth. Do you think that they're worried about hitting grams of protein per pound of ideal body weight? No, they don't even think about it. They're eating fresh fish, they're eating rice, they're eating fermented vegetables, miso, and small portions of a wide variety of whole foods. Another example, the blue zones. These are the places on Earth where people routinely live past 100, and nobody in these cultures is obsessed with macros. Nobody is obsessed with documenting their protein, and somehow they're doing just fine. Heck, they're doing better than most of us, right? They're living longer. What they have in common, they're eating whole foods, they're eating a variety of whole foods, they have purpose in their daily life, they incorporate movement naturally, they're connected to their community, to their families. They're living life, baby. They're not worried about protein. Protein matters. It's amazing for, blood sugar balance, hormone balance. If you're trying to lose weight, it increases your fullness hormones. It can help with building lean muscle mass. It can help with tissue repair. There are a ton of benefits of eating enough protein. And it makes sense to be intentional about getting protein in at every meal. And if you're over the age of 65, then yes, protein generally becomes more important as a tool to protect your muscle mass and your independence, which obviously is super important as you age. And if you're an athlete focusing on recovering, or if you are injured or have an illness, protein is really important for wound healing and tissue repair. The science is like super interesting here, right? Because The same nutrient, protein, its needs can vary completely depending on you, your age, your activity level, your food preferences, your cultural background. There's not one blanket recommendation for everyone. Not everybody needs to eat more protein. So I want to offer a different way of thinking about things here. Instead of thinking of your diet as a set of nutrient targets, I want you to think about color, think about variety, think about texture, think about fiber and flavor, and the things that genuinely make you feel good. Like when you eat certain foods, you know, those foods that just make you like, they just light you up, they make you feel amazing, they give you energy, they give you joy. You are a whole real person, and the diet that you thrive on is going to be different than your friend's diet or your neighbor's diet or your mom's or your sister's. It's just is. It all depends on your genetics, your lifestyle, your preferences, your goals, your beliefs, and what you actually enjoy eating, right? Let's not forget about that. It's pretty freaking important to enjoy the food that you eat. Then you are sending signals to your body of love and nourishment. So this is kind of what the science shows. It's not dialing down on any specific macronutrient. It's just eating a balanced diet that contains all three pillars of a healthy plate, which is protein is one, healthy fats, and dietary fiber. These are the pillars of a balanced diet. So yes, protein is important and we should be eating it at most meals. But get it from real whole food sources and don't fall for big foods marketing of ultra processed protein products. They're not gonna move the needle. Just because you eat more protein doesn't equate to being healthier or losing weight, especially when these ultra processed products come with artificial sweeteners and gums and preservatives and emulsifiers that actually move the needle in the other direction, which I know none of us want. So instead of just looking for protein, look at your whole plate. Is there color? Is there variety? Are there plants? Are there good healthy fats? That, my friends, is your new target. Not 30 grams of protein per meal, not 1 gram per pound of ideal body weight of protein. No, variety, joy, color, fiber, healthy fats. Yes, throw some protein in there from plants and animals. If this video landed for you, please hit subscribe. Check out my ebook, The Pillars of Our Plate. If you're confused about what to eat for optimal health, this is the book that cuts through all of the noise, explains all three pillars of your healthy plate: protein, healthy fats, and fiber, and why they are so important, and how to understand how they work in your body so you can personalize your diet according to you and your needs, because you are a unique individual. There is nobody else out there like you. I'm Taylor, this is Food Happy, and I will see you in my next video.